Hey everybody, glad that you've joined us. You know, this pandemic that we're going through and hopefully starting to come out of slowly has been difficult, but I have found some blessings and have learned some lessons from it. One thing I've learned is through this pandemic, God is teaching me, or trying to teach me, how to be more patient. Because you know that some of the things we're going through, we really does try our patience. Way back at the beginning, if you remember the toilet paper caper, where you couldn't find toilet paper and you're running, you'd go into the store and there's people just fighting and you just grabbing toilet paper, and that would try your patience. Just simple things that we took for granted, like going through a drive-through at a fast food place or a bank. Everybody was doing that. Would try your patience. Being at home with people that you love but you weren't used to being at home with all the time would try your patience. And so during this time, one of the blessings I have is I think God has taught me to be more patient. The second blessing that's come out of this is prayer. It's given me more time to pray because you've been forced to slow down. There's not ball games to see. There are not things to do. You're not running around everywhere. And so this difficult time has helped me anyway in learning to be more patient. Don't ask Amy if that's true or not. Or in prayer. And that's what James talks about as we finish up the book of James in our Discovery Bible study. The book of James, we've talked about, is written to Jewish Christians that are being persecuted and scattered because of their persecution. And James just writes this letter to them, encouraging them in their suffering. And he says, I know you had to leave your home, and I know the circumstances are different than what you're used to, and I know times are hard. But he says, I want to remind you and encourage you to still be a faithful disciple no matter the circumstances. And he talks about trials and temptations, and he talks about still being a doer of the word even though you're in a different place in your life. And he talks about your relationships with other people. Don't show favoritism and don't oppress the poor. He talks about continuing to be faithful by being a doer and showing your faith by doing good works, no matter where you are. He talks about being careful about what you say and taming the tongue. He talks about asking for wisdom because you're going through a totally different situation than you're used to. And then he talks about submitting yourself to God and not bragging about what's going to happen tomorrow. And he ends the book talking about being patient in suffering and being faithful in prayer. And that's what we want to talk about in our Discovery Bible study. I want to encourage you to read James chapter 5, verses 7 through 20. And that's where he talks about patience and prayer. And just see what you can learn about that. Maybe get with somebody and study that passage and read it. And I want you just to ask these few questions here that we've talked about. I'd love you to take some time this week and just think of a way God's blessed you and be thankful for that. And then maybe write down a challenge that you need to ask God to help you with. And then ask these 4 questions. What do I learn about God in this passage? When it talks about being patient in suffering and being and praying prayers with faith, what do I learn about God? What do I learn about other people? That's secondly in this question. And then thirdly, I will. How will I put what I've learned into practice? And then fourthly, who can I share this with? So I want to encourage you this weekend to spend some time in James chapter 5, verse 7 through 20, and read it and ask. He is, we are, I will, you can. He is, what can I learn about God? We are, what do we learn about people? I will, how can we put this passage into practice? And you can, who do you know that needs to hear this? Have a great week, and I hope the book of James has blessed you.